Okay, so hey Blake. I wonder if Blake can hear me. You don't?
Mhm.
Hello.
Why
Now I hear Blake.
you hear Blake, but you don't hear me?
No.
I'm trying to see if I
All I
can get
hear is
my
me.
headphones to connect.
Let me see if I can do this.
Um,
Hey Blake.
you- Are you using the little arrow by the microphone on Zoom? You click on that, you can switch the mic. Or is it Bluetooth?
It's a little bit of both. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. But if you click on the little arrow next to the microphone, you should be able to change microphone and speaker.
Okay, how's the audio here?
Sounds okay.
Okay. My keg of coffee for today.
Nice.
Okay, so you know what we do? Is this the gain? Or is this your volume?
That's fine.
Mind if we use this mic?
Okay.
I can get the gain. Okay. Are we gonna bring up Sweet November with Keanu Reeves? No, I'm kidding. We should all watch that and then record the episode with like tears streaming down. Okay, let's see here. We're recording, so let's give a 10-second or 15-second break so there's a long pause.
Party on, Todd.
Party on, Sal.
Rock on.
Rock on.
Well, welcome back, Podcasters, to another episode of the Party on Johncast, a most excellent podcast about music, theology, what we're drinking, and all around good topics.
Heck yeah. And we just got through our first live Halloween episode. So if you all missed that, well, I can't tell you anything. I mean, if you missed that, you suck.
Well, are you calling our listeners losers?
No, I'm just telling them that they need to go back and listen to it.
Yes. Check out YouTube.
Hey, we all suck sometimes. It's okay to suck once in a while. It's
Yes.
all right.
Anyway, I'm Reverend Sal Samarco, ordained minister of Word and Sacrament in the Presbyterian Church, USA, the validated ministry of hospice chaplain.
And I am the Rockin' Reverend, who is a little salty this morning, but the Rockin' Reverend Todd Laddick, who is an ordained elder in the United Methodist Church of Greater New Jersey, serving a congregation in Newton, New Jersey, and almost never on higher ground than Sal anymore.
Occasionally. And I forgot to say, Reverend Sal, AKA the Angel of Death.
The Angel of Death. That's right.
It's official on Twitter. So
It is. It is. And I hear somebody else laughing, and this is some breaking news right here. So take it away.
Well, hello. Reverend Blake Severson, PCUSA called and installed pastor at a church in the middle of the country, Rock Island, Illinois, also known as the Viking Vicar. Turns out I'm going to be a part of the show
Yeah.
more often than not. So
He's our permanent
these
guest.
fine gentlemen have decided they needed a third mic, and they thought my beard and sense of humor was required. So
your beard and your vigor and your sense of humor. You need all three of those.
And this is my camping keg of coffee for this morning.
Oh, cool. Camping keg of coffee. I like it. And this is my, this is not what I'm drinking for the show, but this is my, I'm in need of my pixie powder, pixie
nice.
power, which, is probably pixie powder in a tea bag somewhere in there,
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So the news is that we've had Blake on a good 3 times, I think, before the show.
Yep.
And it was kind of like, well, we really like having Blake on. He really contributes and adds awesome things to the conversation. His sense of humor is right along ours, slightly infantile, and you take it or leave it. And if you're listening to us, you're taking it, and we love it. So that's awesome. But yeah, we were just we kept saying that Blake is our third mic, and it's like, no, Blake is our third mic. We've got to ask if Blake would be willing to do this, which is interesting, because now the Party on Johncast isn't just located in northwestern New Jersey. It's now located in Illinois as well. So we could say the first half of the United States.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah, we've now spanned halfway across the United States to Illinois.
But in reality, my heart is in Alaska, so you are covering about as much distance as is humanly possible in the United States at this point.
Amen. And you never know when the Viking vicar will be praying for some service in Anchorage, because that's the only place service exists, if it exists there.
Right.
To record a podcast. It could happen someday. You never know. That'd be right before your life death daring trek out into the wilderness with the polar bears and the Jercus giganticus maximus.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, so I think this brings us to our Hebrew segment.
Hey guys.
Yes, Sal.
Once again, every time. How do you know that God loves coffee?
How?
Because he had someone write about it in the book of Hebrews. Not Paul.
Oh, guys, since this is also a different kind of day for us. So there was this time when Jesus asked his disciples to go, out in the water with him, and they did, and he fell asleep, and the storms were just crashing in, and the waves were, they're going to sink, and Jesus! And he stands up and he says, guys, don't worry about it. And he lifts his hands up over the water and says, peace, be still. And the seas calmed and turned into vodka. It's a beautiful story.
Wow, there's an arm floating in my pencil box.
Ooh.
As you couldn't tell, we're in the same room.
Yeah, I just saw that. Yeah, for the first time, I saw the hand go through the screen.
If you didn't tell, now you do.
For our patrons, you will see that on the video.
You will see that on the video. And for those of you who are not patrons, we do love you. I can only say the S word once, so I've exhausted that for this episode. But we do love you. If you haven't subscribed to our Patreon account, you are missing out on some serious awesome stuff. We have done that already. We've done the live Halloween episode, but there's gonna be so much more of that and so much more cool stuff coming along for our patrons. And so, for a measly latte a month, you could have access to that whole world, and even maybe make it onto the Party on Johncast if you want to one day. Anybody who's come on, they're like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. And then they come on, they're like, oh, dude, it was like having a conversation. I'm like, yeah, it's what we do.
Super easy.
Yeah, super easy. So, subscribe. So what are we drinking today? We'll start with you, Blake, because you have the
All right.
keg.
So I'm going to actually send a link into the chat for you guys to take a look at.
Oh, awesome.
And maybe you can add it if any of your listeners are interested in checking this company out. It's called Kuju Coffee Company, and they do pour-overs in a little packet. So there's a little bit of extra waste if you're worried about extra waste. It's a thing. But they're really great to have. The packets are about, I don't know, about that big, maybe a couple inches wide, couple inches tall, and they have a little foldable pre-filled packet that clips onto the side of the cups. If you guys take a look, if you're looking at the link, you'll see how it works. It loops on the sides of the cup, and then you just pour the hot water over the top, and you have yourself a pour over ready to roll.
Looks like it's more for camping.
Well, I mean, that's what their target audience is for sure, but it's really great for on-the-go coffee. All you need is hot water. You can find hot water anywhere.
Yeah,
and especially if the coffee is bad where you're at, which is often a risk. This is a great alternative because they'll always have water for tea, right? And so this is just your own thing. It's like a tea packet, and then you make yourself pour over with it. So I'm having
Starbucks does pour overs. Yeah.
Yes, but these are at REI. You can get them for $2, $2.50. And they're, you can get them cheaper, I think, at some other places. REI is REI, right? But you can get them. I've gotten them for $2 at some places, but they're definitely worth the $2 to have them in your pocket and ready to roll. That's awesome. It's kind of satisfying. You get to make your own little pour over, and they're delicious. This is the one I'm having today is the bold. It ended up after through all the water that went through it, I made about 20 ounces of it. So I'm going to be able to run to the moon today.
Nice.
But so far haven't had a bad flavor. Looking forward to trying their lighter roast, their Angel's Landing. But highly recommend. Maybe if we talk about them enough, the podcast gets sponsored by Kuju.
That would be nice.
That would be really cool. In fact, that'd be awesome.
So you said you can take it anywhere that you think the coffee is going to be a risk. So you're basically saying church fellowship on Sunday after church.
Well, okay. So let me tell you a story. Yes, that. So one of the things I talked about with this church that I'm serving at right now, when I first showed up, was like that we got to fix the coffee situation because like we went there, we did our, did the candidating and all that, getting ready to roll. We had some of the coffee, and it was bad. About a year in, I found out that it was decaf too. Not only was it bad, but it was decaf. And I'm like, why would you do this? And truly, right, we talk about ways that churches can have incarnational ministry with people that they are trying to reach. Like coffee people really care about coffee. And if they show up to your church and the coffee is egregiously bad, they're not coming back. Especially if you look at them funny for bringing their own coffee in. And so, I tried and banged the drum pretty hard for us to improve our coffee game. It did not take, but I think I'm froze up. Did I freeze?
You froze a little bit. Yes. So it probably
okay. I'm gonna stop video for a second.
So that sounds like awesome coffee. I definitely want to check it out. And anytime I've ever had a pour over has been at Starbucks when they don't have I love Veranda Blend, and they don't always have that brewed. And so they'll do a pour over, and it's phenomenal. So to have your own pour over that you can just stick on your cup and just pour hot water into it and call it a day. Beautiful. And it's, I bet you, a lot more ecologically friendly than say a K-cup.
Yes. The only issue would be the packaging on the outside, but otherwise the stuff on the inside is biodegradable and everything like that.
Right. Right.
I think it is no small part because they know that people are going to be out in the woods and it may get dropped or whatever, but leave no trace, but stuff happens.
Yeah. Of course.
That's the ironic thing is K-cups now say that they're recyclable, which technically they are, but no one takes the time to peel it and scoop it.
Right.
It's like,
Yeah, right.
so.
Right.
I'll go next because I am technically drinking coffee. I'm not drinking my liquid death.
Death swirl.
Death swirl of Dunkin' Donuts. I'm actually drinking iced coffee from Starbucks. So went out of my way to stop at our local Starbucks, about 10 minutes out of the way, and get Starbucks.
That's a beautiful thing.
Right.
And how is your Starbucks? Better than Death Swirls?
Better than Death Swirl.
I figured that. So on the last podcast that Blake was on, he had recommended a couple of, that's me already. He had recommended a couple of non-alcoholic options out there. One was Athletic Brewing Company, which is in Connecticut, I believe.
Yep.
And then the other.
They just dropped their Oktoberfest, by the way, and all indications are it will replace your Oktoberfest beers.
Okay, I'm gonna check it out, and I will report. So basically, the other option was this company called Seedlip, which makes distilled non-alcoholic spirits. And they're distilled in the old-fashioned way. And so today I'm going to be reviewing, and this is a blind taste. I've not had this yet. You can see the packaging is still here, you know. This is Seedlip Spice 94 aromatic. And the description is a complex aromatic blend of individually copper pot distilled barks, spices, and citrus peels based on methods and botanicals documented in the Art of Distillation, published in London in 1651. Non-alcoholic, no sugar, no sweetener. So now I got to figure out how to open this thing up, which is different on every bottle of liquor you ever buy. Isn't this true, guys? Okay, there we go. Perfect. Yeah. Almost. Boy, this is more than just a blind test. This is a test of endurance and strength, too, evidently.
There it is.
There we go. Okay. Ooh. Now, Sal, are you going to try this with me?
I'll give it a try.
Okay. We're all going to do, Sal and I, we'll do a shot of it because, well, that's what you do. So there. And we also believe that, I believe personally that every spirit should be drinkable neat. If you can't drink it neat, if you have to mask it with stuff, it's really not that great of a spirit, in my opinion. So this is non-alcoholic. Look at this. It's non-alcoholic, but you wouldn't know it the way I'm acting. Jeez. Okay.
Well, you pre-gamed beforehand, apparently.
Evidently. So let's see how we do this. Here we go. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's like cinnamon and, well, you don't taste nutmeg or something in there, or definitely citrus. Oh my God, you can make excellent cocktails with these. Holy crow.
Yeah, and the spice doesn't really hit you till a little after you.
Yeah, like you taste the distilled liquid first. It's like, ooh, that's distilled. And then all of a sudden the flavor just goes whoosh, and it's like, ooh.
Yep.
Ooh. And it does have a feeling of liquor going down, even though there's no liquor going down. Like you have that feeling. It's not.
Yeah, that one in particular is the one that you need if you want to have that kind of burn feeling. The other two don't really have that. That one is the one that brings a little bit of a burn to it.
Because of the spice, yeah.
Ooh.
And yes, you could just sit there and sip this neat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Good.
And I would put this over ice too, but I'd be a little afraid to do that.
Yeah, I
They
mean,
say you can chill
waters,
it, but
it waters down pretty fast. You would want to put it, so pro note here, you cannot put it in a freezer for long. It will freeze.
it will freeze.
Yes, it will freeze solid. We learned that. We just, that was what we did with gins and things like that beforehand. And then we're like, yeah, we'll just do this. And then we forgot it, and we came back, and it was just a block.
And you had to thaw it out.
Right.
So you had your drink 2 or 3 days later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was worth it.
It was worth it, of course. I mean, it won't go bad in the freezer as long as it doesn't drop out and shatter everywhere.
Right.
Oh my God, this is good. Okay, well, here. And the other thing I did bring, just in case it wasn't good, was a chaser, which is my Dunkin' Donuts blueberry pomegranate refresher. But indeed, that will wait because this is delicious. So
My
Seedlip
coffee
Spice.
taster is going to be weird after drinking this.
Your coffee taste is going to be weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be kind of almost pumpkin spice without the pumpkin.
I despise pumpkin spice.
I know, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still not the death swirl, at least.
That is true.
And you won't have to pee as bad off of this stuff anyway. So anyway, so that's our Hebrews segment. A little longer and more chaotic than normal, but here we go. So that brings us to our most excellent music segment.
Right.
All Saints edition. Okay, who's going first?
Who wants to go first?
I will. I kind of went with the theme of All Saints, not really intentionally, but I was listening today actually to Typo Negative and the song in particular, Black Number One. And I just love the song, but I love the band. And one of the things that I in particular love is Peter Steele and his whole story. Like, because he was a man who lived on extremes at points, and definitely somebody who had his struggles. I mean, his life was not an easy life. He dealt with depression. He dealt with, and I'm going to look it up because I don't want to make stuff up, but I was thinking about him. So he he definitely dealt with self-medication and was on alcohol, and he became addicted to red wine, especially while he was doing performances and stuff. But he really suffered from mental health. He had bipolar disorder. And at a time when, I don't even know if they were calling it bipolar disorder. Maybe they were at that point, but like there was less understood about it. And there's that stigma of mental health that follows people. So he's a guy that like struggled. There were times where he was at the mountaintop going woohoo, and then other times where he was at the gates of hell, but he also struggled with his faith. And he not only did he struggle with depression, with all of that stuff, he also struggled with his faith. It says here in April 2007, Steele revealed that he began identifying himself as Roman Catholic in recent years after decades of self-professed atheism. In an interview with Decibel magazine, Steele explained, "There are no atheists in foxholes," they say, and I was a foxhole atheist for a long time. But after going through a midlife crisis and having many things change very quickly, it made me realize my mortality. And when you start to think about death, you start to think about what's after it. And then you start hoping there is a God. For me, it's frightening. It's a frightening thought to go nowhere. I also can't believe that people like Hitler are going to go to the same place as Mother Teresa. So we can get into the theological, discussion about wrapping your head around Hitler being in heaven and Mother Teresa being in heaven at the same time. That's a theological quandary, because all of us would like to think that Mother Teresa is someplace else than Hitler, but that's really for God to judge, But that aside, you see this person in the whole that struggled with his faith. And I mean, when you go through depression and you feel like an utter reject and you don't want to live, and you're addicted to drugs like cocaine and you're addicted to alcohol, I mean, you can see how there would be this rising tension between the faith you grew up in and the reality you live in, which is loneliness, isolation, despair, pain, hurt. And how do you justify that there's a God when your life is hell, and for no seemingly good reason? Why did Peter Steele end up with bipolar disorder? Why does anybody end up with these things that cause them to derail and go down dark paths? And so I was thinking about that and listening to Black Number One and how unconventional Peter Steele is. I was thinking, here's to all the unsung saints. Here are to the ones that struggle, which is all of us, right? We look at saints as people on pedestals that just are great people and don't have any problems. But saints aren't saints because they go through life without problems. They're saints because Jesus loves them and Jesus died for them, and they accept Jesus as their Lord and Savior. And so here are to the saints like Peter Steele, who struggle, oftentimes silently, get judged by the people who are supposedly Christians. And yet God loves Peter Steele as much as God loves everybody else. And, I can't wait to rock out with him in heaven. So that's my take. I'm not even going to read lyrics, but check out Black Number One. It's a fun song.
It's a good song. I was listening to it the other day.
Yep.
And you kind of touched on the idea that we as Protestants focus on is being with all the saints.
Yeah.
And in our perspective, that means all Christians, not just those who are canonized. So those who struggle.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Who wants to go next?
I can.
Okay.
So one of my favorite Christian metal bands, a band that I know Sal loves as well, is Phinehas. And they just pumped out a new release that might be the best thing they've ever done. And I said that about the last one and the one before that. This one is unbelievable. It is just so
album.
good. I've been listening. I've been listening to a lot when I work out, and when I get ready to write sermons, because why not? I'm also this is kind of a weird combo, but it's been one song in particular has been making me think about this the show Ted Lasso. Are you guys Ted Lasso watchers?
Oh yeah.
I haven't watched it yet, but I'm very familiar with it, and it's on my list. So it's coming up.
But I mean, I think you better block out hours, because you're just going to run roughshod through it. You're going to binge it.
I know. We were. I know. It looks great.
So there's this recent episode I'm rewatching up here. My mom was behind. Megan and I are caught up. And today is the last episode of the season. So I have to wait until I get home back to Illinois to watch it, which is going to drive me crazy. But there's this episode where Roy Kent, who is my favorite, he's just amazing. But he becomes, he's a retired, he was on the team in the first season. Spoiler alert, is no longer on the team in the second season. That's one of the main storylines, is he's this aging, declining player, right?
Sure.
But there's this guy on the team that was on the team with him the previous year, and he is struggling. He's in his head. He's really having a hard time. He's an excellent soccer player, but he's really struggling. And Roy takes him out to this basically a pickup soccer game. Because, here in the States, we have pickup basketball. England, most of the rest of the world, pickup soccer. It's all over the place. And this guy, this professional athlete, is like, what are you talking about? Like, why am I out here? I'm going to kill these guys. I'm a professional. They're nothing. And he says, yeah, but at one point you were a kid and you played this game for fun. So go out and have some fun. Right. And he does. And it just changes him. He remembers the joy he had just in the game, and it changes his performance in his professional career as well. Just having fun. And that has really resonated with me for a lot of reasons. But I think about it with the church. I think about it in our work as pastors, that we get bogged down in the stuff that's not fun, right? Yeah. We think we have to do all this stuff that has to happen, and we're not having fun. Churches, how often can you describe Christian churches in America as a place they have a lot of fun, right?
Yeah.
It's not most people's first descriptor.
No, and the ones who are having a lot of fun are having all the wrong kind.
Not to
shout out any specific denominations.
But so this song, The Fire Itself on the new album.
Yeah.
I really love it. But there's these lines that have been just like grabbing me every time I hear them. And so I want to just read it.
Sure.
The lyrics that have been really grabbing me is, brace for the weight of your soul, wild, free, and uncontrolled, the fire itself, living in the bitter cold of security, waiting for a spark. Desperately searching for a sign of life alone in the dark, the fire itself. And I think about that episode of Ted Lasso where this guy who's a professional athlete, really good at what he does, but he's not having fun. And so he's really terrible at his job because he's not enjoying it. He's too far into his head, but I've thought about that a lot with the church as well. That, we aren't known for having fun, especially Presbyterians, right? They call us the frozen chosen for a reason.
That's right. And it's more on the frozen part, right?
Yeah, emphasis on the frozen. We have this theology of, taste and see that the Lord is good, but then they watch us and they're like, well, we can't be that good. They're not happy. They're not having fun. And so, to me, as I think about this, right, what I believe that the world needs from us, right? Kind of what Paul talks about, that the world is waiting for the children of God to be revealed, right? Not just that we're here, right? Not just another electronic sign on the street that says, hey, there's a church here, but like people living in the true joy and excitement and fun of life in Christ, which is a different kind of life.
Yeah.
That's also been connecting with me a lot because we had a really hard time coming back from Alaska. And since the last time we talked, I found out I did not, I think at least the last time we talked, I found out I did not get the job up there.
Man.
And it was crushing. And one of the things my wife said, which was brilliant, was we never left. Like until we got to know, we really hadn't left Alaska. We were physically back in the Midwest, but we had not left.
Right.
And so now we're asking the question of what do we do? Because it's become real clear that we're having a hard time making a go of it in this place that's really tough. It's a good church. They're a good church. They're kind people. It's fine.
Yeah.
Right. But we've been feeling a sense that like fine is not okay. That there is something else that we want for our lives. Right. And, so I took 8 out on this adventure yesterday, and, it's few and far between in the Midwest to find places like that. It's really tough. But she loves it. And I want a life where we can do that. And I also believe that, God puts that stuff in our hearts, right? That's a part of becoming the fire itself, right? Is living a life that God just kind of made you for.
Absolutely. If we don't do that, we're not living as God wants us to live.
Right. And that's, again, that's part of why this scene in Lasso is connected to me so much too, right? Is like this player loved soccer for specific reasons, but he wasn't living into that. He wasn't doing soccer because it was fun. He was doing soccer because it was his job. It was his duty, right? And this change in his mindset of go out and just have some F-bomb fun, because Roy can't say anything without dropping an F-bomb, which is probably part of why he's my favorite character, I would have to say. But to see the change in this person, like I saw that, I was like, that's, I want that. I want to feel that again, that joy.
Wow. Yeah.
So we're looking at a whole bunch of stuff in that regard.
Cool.
In terms of, whether the Viking Vicar is in Illinois by this time next year is very much up for debate.
Okay.
Because, we know the life that we want to live, and we know that doing it in Illinois is going to be really difficult.
Yeah.
And in the end, we got to make that choice, right? It's more important for us to raise our kids and have our family the way we want it than to, as what is Phinehas said, was that line, living in the bitter cold of security. Yeah, we could be secure for sure. But let me tell you one thing, the Vikings were not much for security, and it turns out neither am I.
Yeah. Well, you are the Viking Vicar for that reason.
Yeah.
That's right.
So that album, even if you don't care about what the words say, the musicianship alone is worth listening to it front to back nonstop.
So good.
That was my review on the last episode that dropped in October.
The Storm
and Me.
Yeah.
That one line in that song, I don't want to drown alone in my dark. Which kind of ties into our theme today of All Saints.
All Saints, yeah.
I definitely also I listen to Holy Coward on repeat when I'm getting sermons ready for sure, because that's a good one.
I just finished my distilled drink, and now I'm going to pick up my dripping wet other drink.
Yeah, I just bottomed out my keg of coffee, so
we're all hydrated. Or maybe in coffee case, maybe not, but
Sal's turn, right?
Sal's turn, yeah.
My turn. So I was gonna do Mudvayne.
Ooh.
Because they actually got back together,
I heard
this year.
Yeah.
Which was big news.
Mm-hmm.
Their whole catalog is great, but I was gonna do World So Cold because it talks, I think, very well about depression. But since we're doing Saints, I switched over to the Foo Fighters.
Yes.
Dave Grohl, who could have just got into the Hall of Fame with Nirvana and wrote out the rest of his life. 25 years now with the Foo Fighters. I think they're going into the Hall of Fame soon.
Yeah.
They released an EP recently called Saint Cecelia, because Saint Cecelia is actually the patron saint of music and musicians. And actually her feast day, at least in the Anglican tradition, is coming up on the 22nd of November.
Thank you, Saint.
So anyway, their one song actually called Saint Cecelia, I think just kind of speaks to the idea of we need people to rely on. And ideally, that's what the church is. I say ideally because we blank it up a lot. But it says, there ain't no secrets anymore. My name's been hanging on the hook of your door, just an old eyesore. I got this feeling. I can't keep it down anymore. Bring me some healing. Saint Cecelia, carry me home to your house of broken bones. You're out of sight. I'm out of mind. Been sitting watching your pictures drying on the line. Just a game of mine. I got this feeling. I can't keep it down anymore. Bring me some healing. Saint Cecelia, carry me home to your house of broken bones. So,
Mm.
and ideally, that's what the church should be, is a house of broken bones.
Well, yeah, and those bones get life breathed into them by Christ. But we come in thinking our bones are perfect, and only those people over there need Christ, not us, which is really a bad witness coming from the people who supposedly represent Christ. Yeah. So wow, yeah, powerful, very powerful. Well, I guess that moves us into there's your beautiful face, our bearded bro. We're bearded bros. Look at this.
Yeah.
So that brings us into our main topic, which is, whatever.
Whatever. Yeah.
That may be the episode name. Whatever. So basically we are in November, and really we're recording this in October, which is why we look so warm and cozy right now, because it's literally like 70 something outside. I put on a long sleeve just
makes me sick.
I literally put on a long sleeve, went outside, and I was like, no, I can't do it. I know it's not going to look like I'm in November, but I don't care.
Well, here's the thing. This is what I look like in November. I will wear t-shirts
as long as you can.
Oh my gosh! Like we've had polar vortexes in the Midwest the last couple of years. I walk my dog in snow boots and shorts and a t-shirt, even when it's -20, because I just like the cold. I don't know. I mean,
if it does you right, you just do it, man.
I hate humidity so much, and the fact that it is still like 80% humidity in the Midwest right now in early to mid-October is just sickening.
You would have loved New Jersey the last couple of days. It was wet and humid.
Yeah, wet and humid.
Yes.
Your skin sticks to you.
Yeah, not good.
Not good. No, it's a bad thing. So today is beautiful. And I'm dressed properly, but I always have a sleeve on, you see.
True.
I'm always sleeved. But so I guess the first thing we're going to talk about is this thing called No Shave November, right? Because that starts on November 1st, and along with All Saints Day. And I think the saints are definitely bearded. I actually think one of the requirements of being a saint is that the second you go to heaven, you not only gain your crowns, you also get a beard. So that means even the women are bearded. It's kind of like the dwarves in Lord of the Rings. You can't tell the men and the women apart. We're all bearded. I don't know about that.
I wonder what Saint Cecelia says about that.
Probably doesn't like it very much. I'm going to assume. But okay, all jokes aside, so No Shave November started as a way of raising awareness for prostate cancer and men's health in general, but definitely with the focus on prostate cancer. And so I used to not do that because I'm not one to get sucked up in doing this day or that day. Like if I want to grow a beard, I'm just going to grow a beard. I don't need to have a day to do it or a month to do it. But then, I was like, I support breast cancer awareness. I support these other things. And, prostate cancer is a real deal, man. It kills people if you don't catch it early enough. And so I was like, I'm going to do it just to do it. And then I started to really like how my beard was looking. Then I started shaping it. Then it's, getting longer and longer. And so it became a thing. And now I'm actually starting my beards really in August. I start a goatee and then I work it into a beard. And then it actually grows into the shape I want it without me having to do very much. So No Shave November. Have any of you participated in that? I know no shave pretty much never on your face.
Yeah, no shave, not ever is my thing. But I have actually, I've done Movember. That was a thing. It's similar. So you grow a mustache instead. And the reason I was able to do that is because in 2012, 2012, I was part of a CrossFit gym in upstate New York, and they were really big in supporting the Barbells for Boobs program, which is a CrossFit fundraiser where every $80 raised goes to provide a mammogram for somebody who can't afford it. And so my gym was big, getting really big into it. And I said, here's the deal, Jim. I was a coach at the time. And I said, here's the deal. If our gym raises $8,000, I will shave my beard off. And we did. So at the event, like during the day of this workout that we were doing, we ended up doing like progressive shaving. So I just took the chin off for a second, and then it was like, I think then the chops came off. So I just had like a huge Fu Manchu for a while. And, but then I had completely cleared the decks, at that point, and then, did the Movember thing. But
cool.
Yeah. For the most part, this is what my face looks like. And, Megan, so when we were getting married, somebody said, so he's going to shave, right? And she was like, why would he do that? I've only ever known him like that. Why would I have him change it? And now we're kind of locked in because like with Ada, I think if I took the beard off, she would think I was a different person and run away. And so.
Can I interject something here? Because I think this is in service to all men. Men aren't going to pretty much let you know that this bothers them, but for some men, I'm sure it does. I know it does me. When you go up to somebody, and this happens all the time, like, and mostly women, I don't really have men do this to me ever, because men just don't really comment on how other men look. It's just not something we do, mostly. There are probably exceptions. But anyway, so I prefer you without a beard. I like you better without a beard. Now, could you imagine I walked up to somebody and said, I preferred you didn't shave your legs. I really like women who don't wear bras, Right. You could go down if I did that, it would be so insulting and infuriating. I'd probably lose my job over it. Right. I'm pretty sure that if I were going around making comments like that, that would be probably go right up to the bishop. B, it's just forget that. It's common decency, folks. If you don't like a beard, you don't like a beard. It's not on you. you know? And
if you don't like a beard, don't grow one.
And don't tell people what you don't like about them. That's just, it's hurtful. Right. It serves no purpose. I'm glad you don't like a beard, or you do. I'm not growing it for you.
Side note, that goes along with you wouldn't tell a woman that she's gained weight, so don't tell a man.
Oh, that too. Yeah. Oh, boy, it looks like you put on some pounds there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
lest we veer into the idea that we have it rough. Like, these are some pretty minor things compared to what our female colleagues are dealing with.
Of course. And I'm not even speaking in terms of, I'm not speaking in terms of our profession or how, in terms of equity between men and women. I'm just talking about common human decency. This isn't a man-woman thing. This is be a common, decent human being thing.
Well, right. Yeah. I mean, the fundamental point that we do not have license or permission to comment on anybody else about anything. We're working on that, honestly. We're working on this with Ada right now because she's starting to notice people that look different. Mm-hmm. So we went to a baseball game and there was a man there who was a double amputee. Mm-hmm. And she just yelled at us, why doesn't he have legs? It's just Ada. Oh, God, keep it down. But we're trying to teach her, right? You don't get to comment on other people's bodies. That's not a place that you get to speak. You can ask it if you have a question later, or you'd like to ask us what happened, right? That's fine. But you don't get to go up to somebody and say, why don't you have legs? Right. Or, why, or she's become notorious because my wife is pregnant. I'm just looking at anybody who maybe looks like maybe they could be.
It's so innocent, but it's not.
When is your baby coming?
Right.
And, and she's 5, so, it's not okay, but it's less not okay. But still, right. Like it's that trying to teach her, like, you don't get to comment on that, and you shouldn't have to have anybody else be able to comment on that about you. Which is a lesson we're hoping she'll learn early and often, because for her, right, with being a daughter, eventually going to be a woman, it's just going to be a part of her life.
Yeah. Yep. And I'll say this too, for our listeners, and this goes on anything where people have legitimate grievances, like people, it doesn't matter whether you're a male or a female or how you identify. If you're a human being, you have feelings and emotions, and you can be hurt. And a man can come up and say, this really hurts me, without me saying, all women suck because blah, 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 or make it a male, female, gender, thing. Like, no, it's just, as a human being, when you tell somebody that you don't like how they look, whatever it is, whether it's the beard, they're bald, whatever it may be. That's another thing people like to make fun of men about, is their baldness, because that's cool. And it's like, no, like, just do unto others as you would have them do unto you. If this is not how you would want to be treated, probably shouldn't treat other people that way. And, and so that's my shtick on that anyway. But as far as No Shave November, I pretty much am already not shaving by November, and my head is what I'll let go. I'll just let that go all November and then shave that back off. So that's where the no shave happens. But yeah, so I was just curious if you guys did it.
Well, I really didn't have a beard till I was in my 30s. I think when I met Blake in seminary, I had a little goatee. I called it a flavor saver.
Yeah. You had the Apollo Ono.
Yep. And that was partly because I just never grew a beard, and partly because my ex-wife didn't like facial hair. I think I grew a mustache one summer, and I picked her up at the airport, and she said, "I'm not going to kiss you till you shave that." So I was like,
you do not want to know what my response would have been.
Anyway, hence she's my ex-wife.
I was going to say, hence the
ex-wife. And I was 33 in CPE, went to visit a patient, and she said, jokingly said, "You're too young to be my chaplain." And I said, "That's it, grow a beard." And I've had one ever since. And I think just like with Blake, Allison has only ever known me with a beard. And
I've only ever really known you with a beard. You may have
grew it around the time I met you.
You grew it around the time. Yeah.
And I think at this point also, Calvin would be confused if I didn't have it. So
who the heck is that? What'd you do with my dad?
So Megan remembers the time her dad shaved his beard as like one of her early childhood traumas. She remembers it very, very clearly. She was like 4 years old or something like that. So, that's just my reason now. I'm like, can't do it. It's just the way it's got to go. So, there were times where I was, discerning if, military chaplaincy was a possibility for me in my life. One of the things that held me back was this beard thing. But then I was like, well, maybe I could become Orthodox and then they'd let me keep it.
That's true.
But
there's loopholes.
That's not really it's not really a viable reason for a religious conversion.
No. So tell me, my son, why do you want to convert? I really want to keep my beard.
Mostly it's the beard.
It's just about the beard.
It's just about this.
I pretty much disagree with you on evering, but you can have a beard, and that's where it's
I agree with the Orthodox on a whole lot. Honestly.
Me too.
The fancy clothes and like the bling on the duds, I'm not a big fan of. But
me either. But I do agree with their theology a lot. Yes,
it's pretty strong.
Pretty solid. Goes back to pretty much the beginning days of the church. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. A good story from my dad, who's always had a beard as long as I've been alive. When he first married my mom, he had a beard because he went out to sea for 7 years. got the job from the company he retired from. And his mentor, so to speak, said, if you want to go up the ranks in the company, you need to shave. And so he had just been hired. So he shaves. My mom freaks out because she's like, I've only ever known you with a beard. Needless to say, within a year, that guy was fired. And my dad said, screw it, growing my beard back. And he retired after 44 years from that company.
Wow.
So, and remember, beards are biblical.
Beards are biblical. Biblical beards. We need to do a biblical beard segment. I think we just did, actually.
Yeah.
So then I guess in November, we're also about to celebrate Thanksgiving, and we talked about All Saints we talked about All Saints already in our music segment, so we can touch on that more if we want. But what I do want to say is, or what I want to ask is, what are your Thanksgiving traditions? And like, what are, or at least your plans for this year? Like, what are you thinking about doing for Thanksgiving?
Well, I'll start that off by saying one Thanksgiving tradition that has transcended all family relations is lefse. Do either of you know what that is? So it is a Norwegian tortilla made out of potatoes.
I like it already.
It's tremendous. And my wife makes it. I'm not sure if we'll be able to this year, what with her being, full bore pregnant at the moment. But we'll find it. I'll find a place to buy it. I don't care what I have to do. Because that is like, when I think of any holiday, and I mean every holiday ever, Easter, Christmas, Thanksgiving, potato tortilla with butter and brown sugar, or I like to put peanut butter on it now, which is super good. But it's just, lock it in. It's got to happen. That's the one.
You're going to have to text us that name.
I will. Yeah. For us, with obviously, you guys know, as clergy, South's a little different-ish with you, but like holidays are just screwed up. Family is what you got next to you. And that's about it. So, for us, it comes down to the food is the stuff that we can keep as a tradition.
Yeah. One of our traditions, has been, because my parents lived down. So early on, our tradition was, my parents were on their own. We were living on our own. We had our kids. So we would, instead of my parents making a big meal, we'd go to the Lafayette house, and they had a big, like, traditional Thanksgiving dinner buffet. It was beautiful. Didn't have to worry about cleanup afterwards. It was great. But then they moved down to South Carolina. And so from that point on, which is about 2009, we've been usually either here or at my mother-in-law's house. We'll do something together. And then if my parents happen to be up at that time or something, we do a big thing. But because I have been mostly veganish, since 2012, that I had to create some new traditions, because I obviously wasn't eating turkey anymore, but I was able to find things that I really enjoyed that I could add to the other traditions I was able to keep, like the turnips. I love rutabagas and sweet potatoes, candied sweet potatoes. And I mean, like, you just go down the list of like all the freaking awesome things that you can eat on Thanksgiving and the family time. And I'm with you, actually, Blake, because one of the things that we also do, now this is for Christmas, and I know jumping ahead, but because our Christmases are so, pardon my French, fucked up. They just are, like all of our holidays are, as pastors in churches, at least. The thing that we'll do on the Christmas Eve is, instead of having dinner, we'll have finger foods, and my mother-in-law will come over and we just sit and have finger foods. And then, so we would go to I would do the 4:00 service, then do the 7:30 service. Then there'd be finger foods. And then we'd go to the barn service at 11. to do that. And it's just, I mean, you're exhausted by the end of it. Like Christmas is like you're in zombie mode, but that's been our tradition because, like you said, family is who's next to you, you know. So like whoever's there, you know, that's family, and you roll with it. Yeah.
Yep. Our tradition for Thanksgiving, especially after we moved back from Japan, was usually to spend time with either side of the family. Usually it was my mom's side of the family, because that side always did our big family reunions, because that was that side of the family, the Dutch side, was always larger. So often it would be at my aunt's house in upstate New York. Last couple of years, just with work and changing dynamics, it's been either my parents' house or my in-laws or something like that. This year we're going up to Massachusetts. Christmas, I mean, it'll be different for me because it's slightly different for me. Last couple of years at Bristol Glen, or that facility, I have done Christmas and Easter, so it's the same. I can't, don't invite me to do shit on Christmas Eve or Easter, because I'm going to be at the facility.
Right.
And for 7 years, I was in one year, out the other year. So if we did do something with family, I was usually doing a service and then scrambling to get to cousin's house, this house, whatever. But before I was in ministry, similar to you, Todd, our family would just do sandwiches, tuna sandwiches, cold cuts. And then we started doing the 7 fishes with the Italian family.
Yeah, I have an Italian aunt who does the 7 fishes. I've had the 7 fishes meal, so I totally
What is the that. 7 fishes? What is that?
It's our traditional Italian thing where on Christmas Eve, you have 7 courses with a different seafood. So you have like squid, salmon, all different types of seafood, clams,
mussels, all that. Yeah.
Because a lot of fishermen in Italy, the whole Good Friday fish, it was like a replacement for meat type thing.
Yeah.
So, and that my dad's side of the family, there was a lot of little kids, so it just turned into, here's a pile of presents in the middle of the floor, and they would say 3, 2, 1, go, and the kids would dive into the middle of the room and just start ripping. And before I had kids, it was like, this is so annoying because there's no thank you, there's no appreciation. It's just kids ripping presents. And it's like, okay, I get it.
Yeah. Once you become a parent, like that perspective it's like, oh. And there's a bit of truth to both. Like there should be a thank you and like that whole like dive in and fight each other for who can get the present first, like it's chaotic fun, but there is that other side to it. So I feel you there. But yeah, when you become a parent, it's kind of like, they're kids.
Well, what you don't think about until you're a parent is like that process, I would imagine, takes some time to sort itself out. So that's like 30 minutes and you don't have to think about anything because they're just fighting over presents and you get to sit back, right?
Parents become pragmatic.
Who cares? Oh, that's yeah. Right. I mean, that's right? Like it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. And I'm actually excited about this Christmas because Calvin will be almost 2 years old.
Yeah.
And he'll actually understand it more.
This will be the one that he starts remembering. Like Ada and I, so Ada gets Christmas now, for sure. But we on the way up to Wisconsin, we listened, I'm trying to introduce her to the Chronicles of Narnia. And so we listened to the audiobook of Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe. What she really picked up on is that the mean witch doesn't want there to be Christmas, and that is not okay.
That's right. That's right. She just wants ice.
And then she figured out that she figured out that the mean witch was mad because Christmas did come, even though she didn't want it to. So it's pretty good.
That's good stuff.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Well, this is a good place for us to end the podcast. We talked about, I think, all things November, at least the things that came to our heads about it.
And if not, whatever.
If not, then, whatever. So with that said, this is the Rockin' Reverend saying, rock on.
And don't be a jerk.
Well, and I was gonna wait for Blake to throw in something there if he'd like.
I mean, we kind of talked about this. I still feel a little bit like a guest. It might take a minute, but you know.
Arrgh. No, that's a pirate. That's not a Viking.
Thanks for having me, and Skull.
Skull. Yeah, there we go. Skull. There we go. That's the Viking thing.
All right, so let's do this again.
Okay.
Let's end the podcast.
Okay, so this is the Party on Johncast. We're glad that you tuned in. Check out our episode notes, and remember, be excellent to each other.
Don't be a jerk. Yeah.
Skull.
Skull. Rock on, folks.